The 552nd edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Fastball Mania is live with $15 million in prizes. Sign up today with promo code MMASGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer of up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MMASGPN. We're also brought to you by Royal Retros. Royal Retros has jerseys, t-shirts, hats, jackets, and sweatshirts from all the old school teams that you love. Use promo code SGPN for 10% off your order today. That's SGPN at RoyalRetros.com.
Hi-ho, degenerinos. Welcome to episode 562 of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. This episode is going out to one of our friends in the Discord, a newer friend who is quite active in there, which is good to see. Abadidaba, or it could be Abaddaba. We'll say Abadidaba. Anyhow, this goes out to you, Abadidaba-dee-dabba-dee-doo. Thank you for coming to the show, everyone else. We got UFC to cover for you. Past three episodes or two episodes have been regional MMA, and yet people are still asking for more. They're asking for events we just didn't cover this week, so you're never satisfied. It's UFC today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Jeff Chalks Fox. We've got UFC non-8 UFC Apex event, so it should be a good fight card. You think it's okay. It's actually got some decent fights hidden among it, but it does have a heavyweight main event with Derek Lewis way past his prime and a fighter who probably is never going to reach a very high of a prime. But regardless, it's like I said, there's a lot of fun fights. Today is all about the prelim fights. We're going to get you cooking on all those fights. A lot of interesting prospects on this here card on the prelim portion. A lot of lines I liked too. Now, I always want to make sure I find some dogs I like because you people come here for my dog picks. That's what I'm known for. Jeff Dogs Fox. I know I'm your dog and you want my dog picks. I heard a weird noise. It sounded like a chuckle or a snortle. But anyhow, so I found some dogs. Hopefully my co-host did as well. Sometimes it's hard to get him to pick dogs. It's kind of like pulling teeth. But let's bring him in now. I think he's all healed up now. The voice at least sounds better. It's Daniel Gubby Vreeland. Hello.
Yeah, it's not nearly as bad as it was before. Also, you do realize the word chalks is printed below your face if you're watching on YouTube.
It's true. That's old. It should be changed to the Gumby Killer.
Yeah,
Wouldn't it be great if it said Gumby and then the Gumby Killer on the other side?
Do you realize that last week you picked one underdog?
Yes. And I went 10-3 as well, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
So sometimes it comes through. I've gone 10-3 3 weeks in a row, so the pressure is on.
Do you think that this card is as chalky or as easy as the last one?
Oh, nothing. I'd never want to claim a card is easy. It's not as chalky as last week's, at least according to my picks. It's not as chalky as last week's as we stand, unless I flop last minute on something. It actually a lot better lines. We don't have huge 500. We don't have the biggest favorite. I think is like 395 as of this recording. So I think it could be a much better week profit wise.
Do you do you have a bunch of fights that you're on the verge of flip-flopping on?
No, not really. I did research.
You made it sound like there was like 10 of them.
No, there's always a chance that my wise co-host could persuade me. I don't know why I agree with you, but sometimes I do agree with you. No, a few fights in terms of flip-flopping, I do extra research. So extra research on a few fights today in between sets at the gym. So I was multitasking. I'm like, okay, I don't think I switched any of my picks. I just firmed up my thoughts on stuff. So hopefully I remember what I've researched and why I've gone on a certain side. Because a lot of times under the bright lights here, I just give you my pick and then I make Gumby do all the heavy lifting. And then people think I'm dumb. Which may be true.
You let me be persuasive. I'm just more persuasive. That's all.
Your thoughts on it? We'll just do the prelim portion now. Fighters you're interested in, lines that surprised you or you're enticed by?
I mean, there's a couple out there. I will say there was a couple I think I almost decided that I liked the dog a little bit too early, and then I went and watched film, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe I don't actually love the dog all that much there, which
Yeah.
is, somewhat disappointing, but also you want to make sure you're on the right side before you lay those wagers. So,
Yep.
Yeah, I feel good about it now.
Good. That's what we want. We want everyone to leave this feeling good. All right. Even if we're not covering KSW this week, sorry, the one listener, I think that was my slip up. I didn't even notice they were running this week, but that's okay. KSW, we'll be talking KSW in the Discord. I think people have already mentioned it already. So get into the Discord. Also, are you a hardcore baseball fan or just a degenerate sitting in an office looking for some afternoon action? Either way, you'll want to make sure you subscribe to the MLB Gambling Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Listen in the bath, just like one of their hosts, Malcolm, does all his research and baseball watching in the bath. You can do the same. Yeah, it's a good show. They actually have more subscribers than we do on YouTube, but they had a head start. But that means they're good. So there you go. All right, let's jump into this card. At least one of the lines, Jong, our friend Jong, steamed one of the lines on the other side for us. So assuming we're picking the same person. So hopefully he didn't steam any of the other lines on us and ruin things before we actually break down the picks. So as I mentioned, this is not a UFC Apex card, which is refreshing. Usually, actually, I guess isn't there an Atlantic City one coming? No, that's a pay-per-view, right? 302.
It's not Atlantic City, it's Newark, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Right. Newark. Okay. This one is St. Louis, UFC St. Louis. Haven't been there for a few years. I think it was a Max Holloway headliner last time. They were in St. Louis. This is UFC Fight Night, Lewis versus Nascimento. A little bit of a step down. Going down this Saturday, St. Louis, Missouri, the Enterprise Center. Ever been to St. Louis, Dan?
I have not. No.
Neither have I. Despite, I wrote a weekly column for their newspaper, though, despite never being in St. Louis. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect.
about area athletes too. All the good old days. I'll have to explain to you listeners what a newspaper is on another episode when we have some more time. But this Saturday night, no, not night, 4 p.m. 4 p.m. That's a good start time or a bad start time for you?
Good start time. Always a good start time.
Good start time. Excellent. 4 p.m. are the prelims, and that is what we're enterprising to do right now. That's a play on the name of the center they're going to. Anyhow, 13 fights, and we've got 7 today to do. I don't know. We'll just do it until we're done. Okay. How about that? Let's kick things off with a women's fight. Women's flyweight. JJ Aldrich, Veronica Hardy. You may already know the answer to this. Who's the younger fighter in this fight, Dan?
It's got to be Aldrich, right?
No.
Really?
Crazy, right? Yeah.
It's crazy. She looks like she's 13.
Yeah, I know. Hardy's just married to an old guy, but she's not old herself. She's only like 28 or something. So
I guess I maybe thought she was. I think she was old because I was thinking about that long layoff she had. Like she had to have aged during that, but maybe she was like 21 when she went on.
Wait a minute. Hold the fort. She was born in Venezuela. She's not Brazilian.
No, she's Venezuelan.
Really? Oh, yeah. My apologies to the former Veronica Machado. Mercedo. What was her name? Her knee name?
Macedo. Yeah.
Macedo, right. Okay. I just see that's my assumption that all fighters are Brazilian. So no, she is Venezuelan. Now she's British, I guess. Anyhow, JJ Aldrich, USA, the Venezuelan Veronica Hardy. 3 5-minute rounds at flyweight. All right, Aldrich, 13-6 with 3 knockouts. She's been knocked out once, submitted twice. So a pretty durable fighter, pretty known for her toughness. 9-5 in the UFC. She's won 2 straight. Before that, she had lost 2 straight. Used to fight at strawweight, 3-1 in Invicta, 2014 pro MMA debut. An inch of height, 3 inches of reach over Hardy, better striking stats and more active landing strikes than Hardy. However, Aldrich has been outstruck in her UFC career by her opponents by almost half a strike a minute. She gets hit 0.48 strikes more per minute than she hits her opponent on average, and she's at plus 122. So, like I said, we got some decent lines. Not all huge, not any really huge lines this week. Hardy, 8-4-1, 1 knockout, 2 submissions. Knocked out once, submitted once, 3-4 in the UFC. She's won 2 straight and 3 of 4. Has not lost since March of 2020. Used to fight at bantamweight. So we got a former bantamweight versus a former strawweight. 3 years younger than Aldrich, like I said. Not that we're saying you look old, Ms. and Mrs. Hardy, but yes, surprisingly younger than Aldrich. She has been outstruck in the UFC as well by 0.83 strikes per minute and better grappling stats than Aldrich, minus 130.
I'm gonna kick it off. I'm gonna take Hardy. I will say this though. for everybody out there really enthusiastically picking Veronica Hardy, I heavily debated JJ Aldrich here.
Me too.
Ultimately, I think the piece that kind of steered me away from her was her performance against Ariane Lipski. And that was like the improved Ariane Lipski that we've seen in the last few fights. But like that to me showed that Aldrich sort of has a ceiling in terms of like her quickness and her ability to get her strikes off when she's faced with somebody like that. And you know, that's kind of been the biggest uptick in what Hardy has been doing since she came back from that big long layoff, right? Because like she lost to Bay Malecki before she left that big long layoff. And since that,
it was a blast from the past.
Yeah, no offense to Bay Malecki, but like she's just not like a UFC caliber opponent there, and she looked really bad doing it. And since then, when she came back, you know, I picked her against Juliana Miller mostly as a fade of Juliana Miller, just because I think Miller is terrible. And then I didn't pick her against Jamie Lynn Horth because I think Jamie Lynn Horth is tough in the clinch and powerful, and she gets her own strikes off. And Hardy handled that, and I really think if Hardy can handle the power and the strength and the physicality of a Jamie Lynn Horth, I don't think JJ Aldrich will have any advantages there. And then again, sort of the speed at which Hardy is working under her husband, I think that's too much for Aldrich too. Like I think that's probably a similar path there to Lipski. Granted, not as good as Lipski. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Hardy here. But I don't think it's as much of a slam dunk as a lot of people are saying out there on the web.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you said. It's very hard to pick against She is a dog. In the best sense of the word, always in fights, always tough to beat, let alone put away. But Hardy, not just name change, she seems to be like a different fighter since she is gone under Dan Hardy's tutelage and made her comeback, so to speak. So and still young as well. So and you got to consider she's probably going to be a bigger fighter here since she used to fight 20 pounds heavier than Aldrich used to fight at. So yeah, Hardy is my pick here as well, even though her not being Brazilian does kind of throw me for a loop, but I'll go with it. There's some good Venezuelan fighters, right? There's that one girl who is called the Venezuelan Vixen, but she's not really from Venezuela. That one, right?
And we're not going to talk about her.
We haven't heard about her for a while, and she hasn't fought for even longer. So it's
been
nice.
It's been really nice. Yeah.
But we're going to talk about Jared Gooden. Imagine that. And it's not a regional episode. We're talking about Jared Gooden regardless. He's back in the UFC, ladies and gentlemen. He's fighting at welterweight in our next fight. Jared Gooden against Kevin Jousset, US versus France. 3 5-minute rounds, 170 pounds. I'll just stop saying 3 5-minute rounds. Every fight in this card is. We'll start with Gooden first. Night Train, NITE Train. 23-9, 11 knockouts, 7 submissions. He's been knocked out twice. 2-4 in the UFC over 2 stints. Got submitted in his last fight. Has missed weight twice in the past, so keep that in mind. Come weigh-in day. Multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt or the hat. Everything I'm wearing right now. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Get sticky. Used to fight at middleweight. 2 inches of reach over Jousset. He has been outstruck in the UFC by 1.60 strikes per minute, hence his 2-4 record, plus 185. Jousset, 10-2, 4 knockouts, 1 submission. He's been knocked out once, 2-0 in the UFC. He's won 5 straight and 8 of 9. He as well has multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Get sticky. I feel we had a spam in the Discord the other day, and it wasn't obviously sticky. Sticky was where it was. I can't remember. Something about breaking off sports books or something like that. So I jumped on it before Gumby even got to it. So, all right. Jousset used to be at middleweight as well. 2 inches of height over Gooden. Better striking, better grappling, better active striking stats. He's outstruck his UFC opponents by 3.13 strikes per minute. Hence the 2-0 record. There you go. It all leads back to that, perhaps. Minus 210. I don't think we really need to break down this one too much. Hopefully, no, sorry. Gooden won his last fight. I forgot to, I said he lost. He won via submission last fight. It surprised us all. We were not picking him. I'm not picking him here again. I'm picking Jousset. There's no way I can pick Jared Gooden, right?
So you misspoke multiple times in that breakdown. First of all, you said that neither of us picked Jared Gooden last time. And
you picked Jared Gooden last time?
I picked Jared Gooden to beat Wellington Turman.
I had more faith in you. But
I'm going to give you the exact same breakdown as I gave you in that.
Oh, no. He's picking him again.
Kevin Jousset is a better striker technically.
Yes.
He's a better grappler technically. He's sharper technically. He's probably got a better gas tank than Jared Gooden.
There's
and
a butt coming.
It just doesn't matter.
It's not a butt. Okay. It's a what instead.
It doesn't matter that he's better at all of those things than Jared Gooden, because the bottom line is Jared Gooden hits really hard. And I said the same exact thing about Wellington Turman. Could Wellington Turman have just taken him down and submitted him if he had good fight IQ and could protect his face? Absolutely. And what wound up happening? Literally the exact opposite of that. And Jared Gooden got a rear naked choke. It was like 17 or 18 to 1 or something like that. Look, Jared Gooden is not particularly good. I'm not going to sit here and sell you on his abilities, but I am going to tell you that if you go watch Kevin Jousset fight Kenan Song in his last fight, his face is unprotected all the time, particularly against a right cross. And one of the punches that Jared Gooden throws particularly well is a heavy right cross. I'm telling you, look at every single combination, every single strike that Kevin Jousset throws. The right cross counter is right there on his chin. It's coming. Jared Gooden is going to knock him out with one of them.
Oh my! Oh, he's even calling a knockout.
What other way is
not
he going to
good enough for him?
What other way is he going to win?
He's not. Hopefully, he hits hard like a night train, right?
That's right.
NITE train. They hit even harder than properly spelled trains. All right. Before we move on, I got to tell you about our friends I want to tell you about our friends at Underdog Fantasy. The NBA playoffs are here, and our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, wants to make it a lot more interesting. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Playing their pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, assists, and so much more. Make entries of all basketball or mix and match across your other favorite sports, such as MMA or at least UFC. You can win up to 100 times your money, and it's a ton of fun. Get in there. If you need help, we have articles on sportsgamblingpodcast.com every day giving you suggestions on lineups to make. The site itself is very easy to use. Look for the little hot tamales beside some of the stats, because you get paid out bonuses on those if they hit. So here's what new customers get: a pickup special in the lobby when they sign up. Make sure you check it out. They have a special every day there. Underdog will also be running a ton of different promos, bonus, cash, airdrops, special giveaways, and more throughout the NBA playoffs. So make sure to follow Underdog Picks at Underdog Picks, PAICKS on Twitter to keep an eye out. Underdog is available in 30 plus states, including California, Texas, and Canada. They also just launched Champions, their player versus player format in Florida. Sign up with our code, very important, MMA SGPN, to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit offer of up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MMASGPN. All right, moving right along. Gumby shocked the world by picking Jared Gooden back-to-back, even though his last name's a lie. He's not good. All right, we're going way down to flyweights. Jake Hadley versus Charles Johnson. We've had some Charles Johnson slander in the Discord. Let's see if either of us pick the man. He is Inner G. Of course, INNER, the letter G. Listen to Top Turtle MMA podcast. Go in the archives if you want to know why. He has a Galaxy Brain nickname. He's 14-6, 5 knockouts, 4 submissions, never been finished in a fight. 3-4 in the UFC, 1-3 over his last 4, 3-3 over his last 6. He did win his last fight, though. He was the LFA champion before getting the call up to the big show. Used to fight at bantamweight, 2 inches taller than Hadley, better striking stats, more active landing strikes, and he has outstruck his UFC opponents by 1.3 strikes per minute, plus 136. Hadley, White Kong, 10-2, 3 knockouts, 5 submissions, never been finished in a fight. 2-2 in the UFC. He's gone 2-1 over his last 3, 2-2 over his last 4. Did lose his last fight. He was 1-0 in Contender Series. He missed weight in that fight, yet still got a contract. Was the Cage Warriors champion before this. 1-0 in Bellator, regional champion, 5 years younger than Johnson. He's outstruck his UFC and Contender Series opponents by 0.22 strikes per minute, minus 145. Back to Gumby.
I'm going to take Hadley here. I think basically the end of the day, the big piece for me is just that, like, there isn't anybody who's beaten Hadley outside of people with like pretty damn legit grappling, right? Like Alan Nascimento, Cody Durden, like people with very good wrestling can hang with him. But outside of that, like anybody who has some sort of fundamental flaws in the way they take people or defend takedowns and stuff like that, they wind up on their ass all the time against this guy. He winds up dominating positions and winning decisions. And as much as I like Charles Johnson, and I'm not one of the ones in the Discord slandering him, because I actually do think his style is kind of weird, and we just saw him be Azat Maksum, which I think surprised a lot of people. I really do think he's going to have a really tough time in the wrestling department. So give me Jake Hadley in this one.
Yeah, same reasons for me. Hadley is going to be able to lean on the wrestling here against Johnson. So White Kong over Inner G is the pick. I bet no one in the world has made that sentence make sense before in the past, or even stated it. All right, we're going way up now to welterweights. Trey Waters versus Billy Goff. Billy Goff, you can hear an interview with him on Top Turtle MMA podcast this week. The one and only Gumby Vreeland interviews the Billy Goff. All right, we're going to tell you about him first. His resume: Goff is 9-2 with 7 knockouts. He's been knocked out once, 1-0 in the UFC. He's won 7 straight, 5 straight via finish. He's not lost since September 2019. 1-0 in Contender Series. He's got multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt, get the hat, get pants. You can get lots of mugs, everything at sportsgamblingpockets.com/store. And you can get sticky while you're in there. 2-0 in Bellator. He's 3 years younger than Waters, better striking stats, more active landing strikes. He's outstruck his UFC and Contender Series opponents by almost 6 strikes a minute. He's at plus 5.92, and he's plus 136 on the betting board. The truth, Waters, 8-1, 3 knockouts, 3 submissions. He's been submitted 1 time. 1-0 in the UFC. He's won 2 straight. However, he's not fought since April of 2023, so he's a little over a year on the shelf. 0-1 Contender Series, LFA champion in the previous life. 7 inches taller, 5 inches reach over Goff. He's outstruck his UFC and Contender Series opponents by 2.5 strikes per minute, minus 157. All right, here's my first dog. Give me Billy Goff. Hits way harder. On a super good run right now. Has not been on the shelf for over a year. And I learned in this interview that I told you about, he's been training, or he has trained, and he has fought people about the size of Waters before. So it's not, he doesn't plan on it throwing him off at all. So give me the man, Billy Goff.
He has fought people the size of Trey Waters before. He fought Justin Sumter at middleweight back when he was in CES. He was actually a CES double champion because he won the welterweight championship.
Right, I forgot.
And weight and beat Justin Sumter. Here's my problem with that. He didn't look great early in that fight with Justin Sumter. I actually worried quite a bit about him in that fight with Justin Sumter, and it actually caused me to worry about him in future fights. Like, I didn't pick him on Contender Series because I was worried about that exact same thing. I think he has a little bit of trouble with reach when it comes down to it. I think being a 5'10" fighter, looking for that big overhand over the top, I think it's trouble. And look, you mentioned that he hits harder. Do you know who else hits harder than Trey Waters? Josh Quinlan. Josh Quinlan hits like a freaking truck. That guy hits so hard. And you know what? Josh Quinlan didn't get close to Trey Waters. Because while Trey Waters and Justin Sumter are the same size, they are not the same kind of fighter. Trey Waters uses exceptional range when he fights. He does a really good job of when people are getting in too far on him, picking that knee up, using that as a weapon to deter you from coming in more. His kicks are better. Like, I just like the way this guy uses his length and his range. And when you've got 7 inches of height and 5 inches of reach and power, like, it should be noted that, like, Trey Waters is also a powerful dude. When you've got those two things and power up against a much shorter guy, I think I got to lean with Waters here. So I'm going to go Trey Waters. He's
letting his anti-short king bias come through here, even though the man gave him an interview. He gave you his time. All right, Waters is the pick. Have you interviewed Goff before, or was that the first time?
I've interviewed him once before.
I figured, because he was in a car accident, I heard, fairly recently. So I figured you had talked to him. I was correct. You did. Interesting. All right. We're different on that one. I'm surprised. I thought you would have been on that one. All right. Here's the line that our man Jong screwed up for everyone who wants to take Tabatha Ricci, one of his favorites, part of his stable. Apparently, he got her at plus money. That's no longer the case. Tabatha Ricci versus Tacia, Pennington, knee, Torres, 3 5-minute rounds at straw weight. I promised you I wasn't going to say 3 5-minute rounds. I broke my promise. I said it twice there. All right. Pennington is still the tiny tornado in double T. She cannot be double T anymore. So I am striking that nickname off the record. It should be taken off of Wikipedia. All right. Tiny tornado is 13-6, 1 knockout, 1 submission. Never been finished in a fight. She owes us some finishes, either getting finished or finishing people. 9-6 in the UFC, 3-1 over her last 4. She did lose her last fight. That was back in April of 2022. Has become a mother since that time. He is not won since August of 2021. She went 1-2 on the Ultimate Fighter, 4-0 in Invicta, 2012 Pro MMA debut. Better striking stats, more active landing strikes than Ricci. She's outstruck her UFC opponents by 1.15 strikes per minute, plus 124. Baby Shark, Tabatha Ricci, 9-2, 1 knockout, 3 submissions. She's been knocked out once. She has those finishes as well. 4-2 in the UFC, 4-1 over her last 5. Did lose her last fight. Used fight at flyweight, 2013 Pro MMA debut. An inch your reach, 6 years younger than Pennington. Better grappling stats. She has been outstruck by her opponents in the UFC by 0.45 strikes per minute, minus 130. Ricci, the other guest on Gumby's other podcast this week, will he betray her as well?
No, I'm going to take Tabatha Ricci here. I think 2 reasons. Number one, I don't like the layoff for Tacia Pennington, rather. I think, 2, we've seen time and time again, fighters coming back from giving birth. It is, it's a terrible thing to have to handicap because obviously it's like a monumental moment of their lives. But like, it seems like every time we're handicapping somebody like this, they looked bad in the fight coming back, right? Nina Nunes, her first fight back, looked terrible. She eventually found her footing. Same with Mackenzie Dern, looked terrible in her first fight back, has found her footing. Jermaine Durandamy looked really bad in her last fight, hasn't had a chance to come back yet. Like, there's just too much data saying that, like, right after that, their timing is off and their speed is off. And look, that's the only thing Tacia has here, is that she has timing and speed over Tabatha Ricci. Ricci also just talked to me about how in her last fight, it was really the output that messed her up. Like, she didn't realize that she had been so much less active than her opponent, and she's been working on that. So like, that's the thing that works for Tacia Torres, right? Like, and it always has worked for her, is that she's more active. She's not particularly powerful, but she's more active. If, first of all, her timing's messed up, and second of all, Ricci knows that that's something she has to work at, I think it's going to be less of an advantage for Pennington here than it usually is. So give me Tabatha Ricci. I like the line too.
I thought you were saying it was a horrible thing to give birth, which I would agree. It would be a horrible thing to give birth. But it's a horrible thing to handicap someone who gave birth, is where right. You ended up going. But it's also horrible to give birth, especially if you're a guy. It would be horrible. All right. New sponsor on that. I'm going to talk about a new sponsor on that note of men giving birth. Royal Retros, ladies and gentlemen. It's on your screen if you're watching us on YouTube. Who are Royal Retros? I'll let you know. Looking to prove that you know ball. What better way than to showcase your old school fandom than with some old school gear from a classic team? Royal Retros has jerseys, t-shirts, hats, jackets, sweatshirts, and more from the vintage sports leagues and teams that you know and love. The Dirty Bird, the Orange Crush, or the Sack Exchange all make for sick jerseys for real fans. I've checked on there. They have Quebec Nordique jerseys. Gumby, do you remember the Quebec Nordiques?
I sure do. Yeah.
Really? They disappeared when you were 6 and you still
know them. My buddy used to have a starter jacket that was a Quebec Nordiques. Yeah.
They have a number 19 jersey on there and a captain. Do you know whose jersey that would have been?
Sakic.
Yeah. Whoa. Look at this American with his knowledge. They also have a 26 jersey.
No, I don't have that one.
He played with his brothers on the team. This is well before your time. Peter Stastny. Do you know the name?
I do know the name.
I believe he has
one of his brothers. Was one of his brothers Thomas?
No, Marion and something else. But I think Paul Stastny is either his kid or his nephew is in the NHL now. Anyhow, there you go. So they got cool stuff in there is what I'm getting at. So check it all out, even if you're not a Quebec Nordique fan. And here's a special bonus for you. You can use our promo code SGPN. You get 10% off your order today. That's code SGPN at royalretros.com to take 10% off today. We're always giving you deals and free stuff. We're such nice people here. All right. Where are we moving to next? Back to the men's side, down, actually up, since we were just a strawweight, up to lightweight. Terrance McKinney, Esteban Ribovics. I'm confused. McKinney is not on short notice here, right? Which is strange.
The first time in history.
It's like a full camp, but he just fought though, right? In all fairness, he hasn't. It's not like he's been sitting on the shelf.
Not that long ago, right?
He fought. Actually, it was October for real.
Yeah,
he fought in October. Wow, that's a long layoff for him. And then he did a grappling match in January. Boy, he's getting lazy. Anyhow, he's fighting Esteban Ribovics, lightweight, as I said. McKinney, T-Rex, T_WRECKS. I approve. 15-6, 7 knockouts, 8 submissions. So he's finished everyone. He's been knocked out 4 times, submitted twice. He has been finished in every fight. He owes his rounds. Damn it. 5-3 in the UFC. He's won 2 straight. Before that, he lost 2 straight. Both of his past 2 wins have come via TKO. He's missed weight in the past. Keep that in mind, even though this is a full camp for him. Used to fight at featherweight and welterweight. Was regional champion. 0-1 on the Contender Series. 4 inches reach over Ribovics. He's outstruck his UFC opponents by almost 2 strikes a minute. Very nice number, plus 1.95. Better grappling stats than Ribovics. and he's at plus 138 despite all that. Ribovics, El Gringo, 12-1, 6 knockouts, 5 submissions, never been finished in a fight. So he owes us. No, he doesn't owe his finishes. All he does is finish people. 1-1 in the UFC, won his last fight, won no contender series, was regional champion, 2 years younger than McKinney, better striking stats, more active landing strikes. It's at plus 276. It's hard to go against a former Samurai Fight House champion.
276.
Plus 2 1. What do I?
That's not the line.
No, minus 1. Yeah, plus 276 is his strike differential. He's outstruck his opponents by almost 3 strikes a minute. The line is minus 160.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm just like, what the hell are we talking about?
Back to my rambling about Ribovics. It's hard to pick against a former Samurai Fight House champion, but I'm going to. McKinney is going to wreck him, hopefully on the feet. McKinney has fought way better people. McKinney's bigger. McKinney is a very good grappler. People just think of him as a guy that knocks people out, but he's probably a better grappler / wrestler than he is a striker. So what if he only has 1 round of cardio? Hopefully he can get it done in 1 round. So give me T-Rex at plus money. I was happy to see him as a dog here.
Yeah, I actually think that part of the long layoff is him working on those things too. You mentioned the 1 round of cardio. Like, to me, the best thing I could see for this kid is the fact that we hadn't seen him fight in 7 months. Like, that to me is really exciting. And I think we're going to see probably a little bit more reservation in dumping the gas tank out, but also just like a little bit better of a gas tank. And to your point, Ribovics, hittable. McKinney, good takedowns. I actually think he's got a grappling advantage here. I think we're going to see a bunch of different things from him, but as long as he keeps that power and he keeps that wrestling, like he should have an advantage over Ribovics everywhere it goes, with the exception of the gas tank, and hopefully he's worked on that.
I like when you call him kid and he's 5 years younger than you. This kid here, you sound like Dana White when you do that.
That's a Boston thing. We call everybody kid.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot Dana's a Boston guy. You're a good Dana White though. You're not an evil Dana White. All right, we are sticking with lightweights for the main event of the prelims. This should be a good one, or an interesting one at least. This one should answer some questions. Hopefully, Chase Hooper versus Viacheslav Borshchev. You may not know who that name is, but you'll know in a moment. We'll tell you about Hooper first. So he's just the dream now. I believe he's a father now as well. It's just our little boy's grown up. Crazy, right? I remember when he was a teenage dream, and yeah, he's just the dream. 13-3-1, 4 knockouts, 6 submissions. He's been knocked out once. 5-3 in the UFC. He's won 2 straight and 3 of 4. Won his last fight via submission. Used to fight at featherweight. 1-0 contender series. Regional champion. 2 inches height, 5 inches of reach over Borshchev. 7 years younger. He's got better grappling stats than Borshchev, and he's outstruck his opponents in the UFC by 1 point and contender series by 1.27 strikes per minute, plus 125. Borshchev, Slava Claus. Now the light bulbs are going off. Oh, that guy. 7-3-1 with 6 knockouts. Never been finished in a fight. 2-2-1 in the UFC. 1-2-1 over his last 4. He got a draw in his last fight. 1-0 contender series. Better striking stats, more active landing strikes. He's outstruck his opponents in the contender series in the UFC by 1.75 strikes per minute. Minus 135. I'm glad you get to go first here. This is a fight that was kind of a toss-up. I want to see where you're going.
I'm thinking Slava. I don't
Me
think
too.
Chase, I don't think Chase Hooper has the takedowns for this.
That's exactly it.
Yeah,
people think he can do the wrestling, but he's not wrestled for a few fights now. Or he hasn't gotten takedowns for a few fights.
His jiu-jitsu's nasty, as we saw in that fight with what's his face, the Monkey King. But like the Monkey King is the one who led that to the grappling, not him.
Yeah,
like he's the one who weirdly took that fight to the ground. And like, what was it? Mickey Gall he had fought prior to that. Am I remembering that right? No, that's not even the right weight class.
Nick Fiore.
Oh yeah, Nick Fiore, and like his striking looks so good against Nick Fiore, and then I was like, maybe that's because of Nick Fiore and not because of him, right? Like that's ultimately what we probably learned from that fight. And Slava Claus, like, look, he knows his deficiency is the takedown. He knows he has to work on that. Does that mean he's miraculously going to get better overnight? No, but I think he's good enough to stuff the Chase Hooper takedown. And I think Chase Hooper cannot stand with that power. I do not think he can stand with what Slava Claus brings. So yeah, give me Slava Claus.
Well, Slava Claus is in the right camp to, like, he's a alpha male guy, so he should be able to wrestle soon, or at least
right?
In theory. Yeah, we've seen Hooper get battered before, and it's looked like child abuse in there. So yeah, I'm picking Slava Claus as well. Basically for the reason Gumby said, Hooper would be smart to lean on his wrestling, but like I said, he has not recently. He didn't shoot any takedowns against Jordan Levitt. He was 1 for 10 against Nick Fiore with takedowns. No takedowns in the Steve Garcia fight. He was 0 for 1 in that one. So like you really like earlier in his career is where he made his hay with the wrestling, and it's kind of gone away. Maybe he's one of those guys who thinks he's a striker now, but yeah, not a good idea if he chooses to strike this week with Slava class. So, all right, there are your picks. We linked up on a few of them. Other ones we differed on. Let's give you a recap, and we'll get out of your ear holes and or eye holes or other orifices, wherever you stick us. We both have Slava class Borshchev. Both have T-Rex McKinney. Both have Baby Shark Ricci. I'm going nicknames here. I have Goff. He has Waters. Both have the White Kong Hadley. He has Gooden. I have a Jousset, and we both have Hardy, the Venezuelan. Sound right?
That's right.
All right. We're going to get out of here because we're going to get right back tomorrow. No days off until Friday, Saturday for us. We're always in Discord. Definitely no days off in the Discord. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. You can get tips in there before degenerates in there move the lines, which they seem to consistently do. Or it's a coincidence that these lines are moving. Where else? Twitter, SGPN MMA. He's a Gumby Vreeland. I'm a Jeff Fox writer there and on Instagram. Get in my sub stack, enter my pick'em contest for UFC St. Louis. You can enter that for free at moneymma.substack.com. As I've already hyped up, Gummy's got another podcast, Top Turtle MMA podcast. He's got the Baby Shark, Tabatha Ricci. He's got the guy that he picked against, Billy Goff as well. Both good interviews. Listen to that. You don't have to listen to me that way. Bonus, win-win. Obviously, YouTube. Keep subscribing. You can contact us in there in the comments as well. But thank you. Our numbers continue to go up there, which is good to see. And of course, sportsgamblingpodcast.com is basically our home base where all of our stuff can be found and all of the rest of our crew's stuff as well. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. So you can dress like cool guys like us. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. So you can help us keep the lights on. We'll be back tomorrow. Energy, Jeff Fox, Night Train, Gumby Vreeland, UFC St. Louis main card. See you then. Bye-bye.